Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another segment of Word of the Day. My name is Caesar, and this is Inspire a Movement. So we're continuing with the word vices. So a vice is considered to be a practice, a behavior, or a habit that is generally considered to be immoral, taboo, depravity, or something criminal even in an associated society. A more minor usage of the word vice is to consider somebody's faults or possibly like a negative character trait or simply unhealthy habits that somebody may have. So commonly referred to vices are things like greed, envy, lust, anger, gluttony, pride, and sloth, something like laziness. Now, bad habits that we may form over time are very damaging for many reasons, but among them because they simply are so wasteful in our time and our energy, and they really deprive us the ability to achieve our goals because they're that disruptive. So having vices certainly is not good, and it's not only bad in terms of accomplishing our goals, but also it is something that can make us mentally and physically unhealthy. So for many reasons, we don't want to succumb to vices such as, say, drug addiction, or possibly something like illicit sex even, or addictions to pornography, things like this. Now, what are some coping mechanisms for vices or these compulsions or bad behaviors? So one of the things that you could do is, if, for example, one of the compulsions that you have or the bad erratic behaviors that you have are around smoking, one of the things that you need to be cognizant of, that when you have, say, a trigger around, say, stress and boredom that leads to something like smoking, you need to have a ready substitute, a replacement. You also need to be cognizant of triggers. So we used the word triggers just now. So for example, if it is something like smoking, and every time that you go to have a drink, for example, you pick up a cigarette, maybe you don't want to go to the bar. So some common sense things to avoid triggers that lead to bad behavioral patterns is something that we can also consider. Also surround yourself with people that are trying to seek similar change as you are. On top of that, I would say try to surround yourself with people that you want to model and live into a version similar to what they're living into, right? So that's also very smart and healthy of you as you try to cope with your own bad behaviors. Also looking for coping mechanisms around negative self-judgment. One thing that I recently heard of is if you have some sort of negative self-talk, introducing the word but. Once this negative self-thought comes in, but I am going to be able to achieve some form of change because of this and that reason. So coping with the negative self-judgment is also really important. And also knowing that a lot of the times the bad behaviors that we're trying to change today, we probably haven't always had. So we're not trying to really fix ourselves to the point where we're trying to become this whole other person. We're just trying to go back to the version of ourselves that didn't have this specific bad habit. Now, as I try to relate to the word vices, I can think of my own compulsions and bad behaviors from the past and how damaging they have been in some way, shape, or form for me. So I certainly have had to use a lot of these different tactics that we're talking about before. And one of the things that I could offer to you is that a lot of times we have these bad behavioral patterns because there's some unmet need, right? So we develop these bad behaviors, for example, the issue of smoking, because we could just be stressed and we could just be bored. And this is a coping mechanism to deal with overwhelm, stress, and boredom. So being able to make those connections that a lot of the times these bad behaviors and vices are simply just the end product of some unmet need is really a powerful knowledge and tool so that we can actually try to habituate something new as we try to address our issues, say, with stress and boredom. Another thing that I could add to that too, that is a lot of what we speak into in terms of life coaching in particular, is that a lot of the times these bad behaviors are tied to some form of self-limiting belief. Now that's also really important too, because you could have some issues around internal insecurities or possibly some faulty programming that needs to address, which is the end product thereof is this vice or this bad behavior or this compulsion. So it could be very informative, and a lot of the times, most of the time, the only way to get to deciphering these things is through curiosity and awareness of self. And once I realize that I want to change something, that is step number one. When does it show up? What are the existing triggers? And then you can start making these connections with self-limiting beliefs. I hope some of these thoughts and reflections are useful to you. I also hope that you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. If you want to reach out to us for some a coaching subject or possible word that you want us to maybe address, please reach out to us at inspiremovement.com. We do this with all honor, love, and respect. Thank you so much, and have a lovely rest of your week.